What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. I'm Drew Dinkmeyer here with Mike Gallagher to walk you through tonight's 8-game slate. It is the start of the in-season tournament tonight, the Emirates Cup, as they have branded it. We'll see some funky basketball courts. We might see some with rotations. We'll see. This is the second year of the in-season tournament, so I'm interested to see how teams kind of approach things. I know it's one of the conversations we've been talking a lot about. What to expect, if we'll see tighter rotations, if we will see what we saw last year, which was not much different until the last game of group play. But Mike, how are you doing today? And are you excited for the Emirates Cup?
Pretty excited. I liked it, and a lot of people didn't, but I think it's fun. The courts I think are interesting. I'm not a fan of the red courts. I don't know who's what, but that was one thing that bothered me. Other than that, the other thing that is annoying, they do this. They're not putting front end of the back-to-backs on these NBA Cup games. So there are 8 guys on the front end that play tomorrow, which makes my job harder, trying to write ahead. But yeah, pretty excited for the slate today. Some pretty interesting games, and man, a lot of really big injury news.
All right, let's get to it. Let's start with Atlanta and Boston. On the Atlanta side of things, man, things just get more and more challenging here. No Bogdan Bogdanovic, no Kobe Buffkin, no DeAndre Hunter, no Vic Krejci, no Seth Lundy, no Cody Zeller, and now no Trae Young. Right, Achilles tendonitis is a concerning listing. What are your thoughts on what things look like for Atlanta tonight, as they are massive underdogs going into Boston without Trae Young?
Yeah, not sure if this is like what's going on with this. He doesn't have much of a history. I only saw one Achilles injury thing. It just cost him a game. So yeah, obviously, hopefully short term. If it's not, they're in trouble, and they're in huge trouble tonight. I think they're going to lose by like maybe 30. They just have no handling here. Dyson Daniels isn't like a main handler. He did it a lot in summer league, like way back in the day, and then kind of just got pigeonholed into this like wing stopper, on ball stopper. So maybe he goes back to that. And then obviously the big question is who starts, and it's a list of I think 3 guys here. Keaton Wallace, who's been backing up Trae, been playing pretty well. He's not like a traditional handler though. So that means Dyson would kind of be more on ball, and then Jalen Johnson would be very much on ball. Talked a lot about his touches. So it's between Keaton Wallace, Garrison Matthews, and I think David Roddy is a candidate here. Did get kind of iced last game with some health coming back there. But yeah, we've got to hedge over this place. Don't have any confidence there. Do you have a favorite guy to start here?
I think Matthews is the least likely, simply because I've mentioned this before, but because Matthews can run off screens a little bit, there's like a little bit of offense you can run through him. And the second unit is just very devoid of offense. One of the issues that Atlanta's had is when Trae Young's off the floor. They've staggered that with Jalen Johnson a lot this year. You can't play Jalen Johnson 48 minutes. So there's going to be times when Jalen Johnson is off the floor, and in those times in the second unit, you probably want Garrison Matthews, you probably want Onyeka Okongwu, you probably want David Roddy. I would think those guys are guys that can, in some semblance, generate a little bit of offense on their own. So I think Keaton Wallace is probably the favorite. Would agree with you there. But it's tricky for sure. It's not clear. Thankfully, it's the first game of the night, so we'll get some clarity there before lineups lock. But a really messy situation to project. And a messy situation to project on the other end, which we can transition to from a injury standpoint here, is Boston, where they've got Al Horford questionable with a left big toe, not a great toe. Shout out to Mark Dankenbring. Sprain. Kristaps Porzingis still out. Jaden Springer questionable with left knee tendinopathy. Jason Tatum questionable with a left ankle sprain here. And under normal circumstances, right, you would think that they're 15.5-point favorites. They're playing against a team without Trae Young. They've got their eyes on a bigger prize than the in-season tournament. Just rest Jason Tatum. Just rest Al Horford. Just like kind of figure it out. Get your way through this game. The side note to this, though, is like, one, Joe Mazzulla is kind of a crazy person. And 2, the Celtics last year, if you remember, were eliminated in group play in part because the Orlando Magic were running up the score late on them. And they reacted very poorly to that. They did not like that at all. I don't know if that is going, like, this team manufactures chips on their shoulders like most great champion teams do, right? To like keep their edge. I don't know if that's going to be a manufactured chip on the shoulder that we're going to see a team that is just looking to run it up in a spot that they can absolutely run it up. So what are your thoughts on what we see from Boston tonight?
Yeah, they play at Brooklyn tomorrow, so I think they go for it today. The Horford thing's just like a wink, wink, back to back kind of a thing for me. So Jason Tatum, we saw what happened. Giannis kind of got his foot underneath, rolled his ankle. It was called quote ridiculous by Joe Mazzulla, not the lack of a foul call there, but I think he's fine. So I think they're going to play, as you mentioned. I think they want to win. You mentioned the Orlando stuff, and then the hack of Drummond stuff. We saw the Celtics did that too, where they were just like fouling Drummond to run up the score at the end, which was hilarious. So, yeah, I kind of lean all these guys in. The question is, with this big spread, how much does Jrue Holiday play? And then, hey, if you want to run up the score in the fourth, what better way to do that than just play Peyton Pritchard in the full fourth? So, yeah, it's kind of a little bit of a push and pull there. But, yeah, I think these guys are going to be in. They might sit Horford. I'm like, okay, in-season cup game, we know we're going to sit Horford for a game. We should be good without Horford, especially with Neemias Queta playing generally pretty well here. So I think I'm pretty sure Tatum's going to play. And again, injury wasn't bad, but Horford could definitely sit. And then, maybe they're okay, Tatum sit out tomorrow or something like that.
Yeah. And the big question mark though, is like, they're on the front end of a back-to-back, normally 15.5 point spread. If this game's, 25 points in the fourth quarter, you're seeing all of Sam Hauser, Peyton Pritchard, maybe see Jordan Walsh get in there. Like, are we seeing that tonight? I don't know. I think they're more likely to play this like a normal game than a special playoff type game, I think, because they've won a championship and that's where their focus should be. And they can still win the group play kind of without having to run up the score on a really bad team. But I don't know, because they were really upset about it last year. That's the one thing that like is sticking with me a little bit. All right.
And I'll just one more time. They do have they do have the Cavs in their group, right? So they should care about point differential a little bit.
Yeah. All right. Charlotte and Orlando. On the Charlotte side, Miles Bridges remains out here. They've got Trey Mann questionable with low back soreness. Cody Martin also questionable with an illness. That's a recent add to the injury report as well. Nick Richards is still out with the rib fracture. Mark Williams is still out with a tendon strain. There's been really no reporting on Mark Williams' availability. What's your read on Trey Mann and Cody Martin and their availability tonight?
Same injury for Trey. We saw him get listed on this on Sunday. Minutes were down. Didn't play well. Don't know if that was why. Didn't really get any details from Charles Lee after the game. So, yeah, normally we'd be like, okay, hey, same listing. He played last game. He's fine. But I don't know. I think it affected him. So could see him sitting this one out. They do not play tomorrow, which is nice. And yeah, you mentioned the Cody Martin late illness tags are really bad usually. So I think he could definitely miss. That would, get a secure Josh Green's minutes a pretty good bit. They would probably play Grant a ton again, more at the 4, just kind of shift things over a little bit, and then put more Moussa Diabate, who's been rebounding the ball really well for them. And then, if Mann could play more, that'd be great. If he can't play and Cody can't play, then they would certainly be inserting one of, if not both of, Nick Smith Jr. and Vasa Micic there. I think I would lean Nick Smith for just adding more wing. I think what replacing Cody, would have to be, you need a little more punch with because Micic can't guard anyone basically, but it would really help Green's minutes. He's pretty important if they did vacate that role that Cody has. So yeah, we'll see. I think he's got a good chance to miss, and then I think I laid it all out.
All right, Orlando side, no Wendell Carter Jr., no Paolo Banchero. They are finding a little bit of rhythm here back at home, playing some weaker competition, playing a little bit better. But from an injury perspective, this is relatively stable. What are your notes on Orlando tonight?
Yeah, one of the 8 teams that does play tomorrow too. But yeah, no reason to think they're not going to keep running this lineup out there. Goga Batadze continues to play a lot of minutes in the first half and then not play in the fourth, partly because of blowout. They've blown out their opponent the last 2 games and got really talked up from even just Jamal Mosley talked about his passing and obviously rim protection and pick and roll coverage and all that good stuff. He's been playing really, really well. Shout out to the Goga Sharks. And then, the other note is, and we already took an over on this, man, Franz has been playing a ton in the first half and been trending for like upper 30s minutes. We saw him hit 39 the other day. We already took an over on his assists, which you can maybe highlight some of your stuff that you found out while I was working on minutes and writing. And then, everything else is pretty much stable here. The second unit's mostly locked in overall.
Yeah, I think, and this is another team that last year we did see. Now it was the final game that they were pushing for the point differential stuff, where it did matter a lot. But what we saw last year from a lot of these teams is it mattered in the final game to them, but not the first two games in terms of how they manage rotations. Front end of back to back, who knows on a team that like is just trying to get wins right now. But the first half minutes for these guys have been trending really, really elevated, and we just haven't seen it. Because of the game competitiveness. User in chat asks, what is the timetable on Paolo while Franz is playing all these minutes? What?
I think it was 4 to 6, so he's got another 3 weeks on there.
Yeah.
I think we're early December.
Yeah, it'll be a good run for Franz in the meantime. All right, let's go to Miami and Detroit. On the Miami side, Jimmy Butler is out with a right ankle sprain. And then they've listed the G Leaguers out. They've listed Tyler Hero available with a lower back contusion. He was great in the fourth quarter in their surprise win in Minnesota. Now they're in Detroit as they work their way through the Midwest. What are your notes on the Heat tonight?
Yeah, Hero, a little bit of a fall. He should be good. Yeah, played freaking awesome in this game. And that was really the whole the main points from Eric Spoelstra. And all season, man,
He's been great.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Like, not even a doubt that he's been, the best player on this team. Bam hasn't been performing. Jimmy's hurt. He's been, even before Jimmy got hurt, he's been better than Jimmy. So, definitely Hero season. It's really pushed down Terry Rozier's role. And then, of course, no Jimmy. They surprised us, and they went with Kevin Love in the starting lineup. Haywood Highsmith started over Nikola Jovic. I don't know if that was matchup or what. Spoelstra obviously didn't say. I think it makes a ton of sense to be matchup, right, for Haywood Highsmith, because you want to put someone on Ant. So, but I mean, they won the game, so I would expect them to start the same. Obviously, Love's going to play pretty light minutes, just getting back from personal issues and having a reconditioning tag on him for a bit. And then should note, Jovic moving to the bench. He was really good this game. Hit the big bucket late on the cut on the beautiful ATO from Spo. So, really tough balancing act. Jaime Jaquez returning from the illness, ate something at a store that messed up his stomach. So it wasn't the water. We kind of half joked about that. So his minutes could come up in the 20s, which could kind of throw a wrench into some stuff. Pelle Larson's minutes got really cut down. We thought he would play a little bit more. And they're still playing Josh Richardson a pretty good bit. So, really tough to kind of parse through the 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 man in this rotation. But, I think they're going to start the same way.
I'm not as convinced on Love starting, but we'll see. Obviously, they did get the win. I think this was very matchup driven in the sense that if you look, if they started Bam and Jovic, I think Jovic would have the responsibility of guarding Julius Randle in that scenario. And I think they're just uncomfortable with that, right? So I think what they wanted to do is they wanted to get Bam on Julius Randle, and then they wanted to have somebody with size to be able to deal with Rudy Gobert without compromising their spacing on the other end. So that's where Kevin Love kind of comes into the equation. Obviously, he doesn't play a lot of minutes, so they're kind of figuring out as they go. This matchup, I think Bam's got to be on Duren. So then Kevin Love, is he going to go out and guard Tobias Harris? That feels a little bit shaky to me. So I think we might see Jovic kind of back in the starting lineup tonight, just because the matchup. And I don't think you can put Kevin Love on Duren in the same way that you can on Rudy Gobert. It's just a little bit more athleticism and physicality there.
And so you think Highsmith's locked in, going to get Cade?
I do. Yeah, I think Highsmith is pretty safe. Yeah. Okay. Detroit side, Jalen Duren is questionable. Should note that I should note that matters. If it's Stewart, I think there's a chance that they start Love, because that's like a little bit more palatable from an athleticism standpoint for Kevin Love to deal with. But Jalen Duren's questionable here with the left ankle sprain. Isaiah Stewart's probable with a right ankle sprain. Oscar Thompson is out with the return to competition reconditioning, but we did get an update there. Do you want to start there and then get into the questionable tags for Detroit?
Yeah, Asar Thompson got cleared. He's still not even close yet, just kind of reading between the lines from Bickerstaff's press conference at the practice. He said that he'll eventually get the 5-on-5 stuff, and it's someone asked about him going to the G League, and he said it's too early to tell about that. So, it's nice to see Asar finally getting back on track here. But it sounds like a week's kind of a thing for him to be, full go after going through 5-on-5. I mentioned maybe the G League rehab assigned him, so it'll be a bit there. We saw Duran miss some time for this ankle thing that wasn't too serious, so I think he's going to be back. Stewart also, a little bit dinged up, but obviously if one of them doesn't play, that's Paul Reed, and then I think Duran, Stewart's been pretty good, but I still think that Jalen Duran. Yeah, I still think Jalen Duran still holds up the spot. He'd be on shaky ground though. Like if Stewart's playing well and Duran isn't, he might not close. So there's a pretty low floor to Duran's minutes coming back off of injury.
Agreed on all fronts there. All right, let's move to New York and Philadelphia. On the New York side, Precious Achiuwa, Mitchell Robinson remain out. Deuce McBride, questionable with a left knee inflammation, then Campaign questionable with that left hamstring strain that he's been dealing with. He's missed the last few games. What are your expectations here on Deuce McBride?
I should be good. I mean, we saw him, warm up and not play great. Expected him to be in there. He plays through a lot of stuff, so he should be in. They keep listing Cam questionable, and they're talking about him like just starting on-court work. Like the questionable tag doesn't match up with the quote, so I think he's going to miss again. And we've seen look at these minutes, man.
Yeah.
42, 41, 43, 39 for Cat. And then they're basically running like almost a 6-man rotation here as, Sims plays the non-Cats, and that's pretty much it. So, yeah. It's not called the in-season tournament. It's an NBA Cup. You got to give Emirates their love. They paid the money. So, yeah. I think they're just going to go airtight again in a matchup that's, pretty fun. We'll talk about Embiid in a second.
Yeah, this is as a Knicks backer on season-long wins and whatnot. This all feels like a house of cards in terms of like how much they're playing these guys, and they really needed Precious Achiuwa to be healthy, and then they needed to find somebody that they had confidence in, whether it was Kolek, that was unlikely because of the guard situation, or Dadier, or Matt Ryan, who they just added to the team. They need to get some level of confidence in one of these guys pretty soon, because you can't just keep running these guys out there for 40 this many games in the season. Like we're going to see Josh Hart knee soreness in a couple weeks, like on the injury report. I'm pretty confident. Okay. Philadelphia side, the worst injury reporting team in the league has decided to list Joel Embiid with no listing at all. So Joel Embiid will be back tonight off of league suspension of injuries to start the season. They're without Tyrese Maxey with the right hamstring strain. They really didn't list much else. Some of the G League guys are available, Justin Edwards, Adem Bona, but I don't expect either of those to be in play. So what do we see in the return of Joel Embiid tonight?
Yeah, a lot of questions here. Number one, how much does Joel Embiid play? So looking at some previous instances, he's been generally hanging around 28, 29 in his return after missing like weeks kind of a thing. This is a little bit different. It's add the quotes we had in the preseason where they're going to manage him, be careful, yada, yada, yada. And then, we had the fine because they didn't reveal that he was injured. So it's a bit of a balancing act on how they're going to approach this and how healthy he is. We don't know. The Sixers don't tell us. So I think he's got a chance to be like 80%, where he's playing like 32, 33. He's also has a chance of being like 20%, where he's playing like 20. So a tough read. Again, we landed at 28 minutes for him, which the next question from Nick's side, who guards him? We've seen Nurse use OG guarding him. That's something I'm kind of toying with there. And then the other question is who backs him up? Because we saw the last game, Andre Drummond started, but didn't start the second half. They went with the dancing bear, Gerson Yabusele. After the game, Nick Nurse said that was because of the matchup, because Taj Gibson is a little bit smaller on the other end, and they can kind of get away with it. It worked out. Yabu was freaking awesome. Yabu's been great. So Yabu's been great. Drummond's been disappointing. Do they flip that? Like, there's a chance that Drummond barely plays. So keep an eye on that. And then the other thing was the guards. We saw a really big flip. Jeff Downton, Abby as you call him, has kind of cut into minutes big time. I think he's going to be in there. Nick Nurse said the term "shake it up" with regards to his kind of bench guards, like 3 or 4 times in his presser. But considering how well Downton played, I'll get to Jared McCain. I guess I'll do that now. And how well Jared McCain played, 27 points, got targeted like crazy defensively. Nick Nurse talked about how he's going to get a lot of reps playing on-ball defense because the Hornets picked on him like a ton. And we know that's Tibbs' jam, man. He's going to put McCain in so many actions here. But he's playing too well. They're not getting enough production and kind of just a jolt offensively. with Maxey out. So I think McCain's minutes are pretty safe. Paul George minutes limit was hit. We saw him not playing overtime, hitting at 33, yep. So should be around there again. Caleb Martin playing a ton, picking up full court a lot of instances and still playing 41 minutes with overtime. So and then Kyle Lowry, bless you for getting over our 7.5 points prop that we had, but playing a ton. So yeah, this rotation's pretty tight. And again, not sure they run back this Downton McCain stuff, but based on how they won a game for once, you'd think they mostly run it back.
Yeah, we also saw Eric Gordon, who had been buried before, kind of back in the rotation at the expense of KJ Martin here. So KJ Martin, Reggie Jackson, Ricky Council, those are the guys who kind of got de-emphasized here with this latest shakeup. I think we're going to continue to see shakeups. I will say that just from a skill-wise perspective, the guys who can shoot the ball are going to be the guys who I think are more likely to maintain the minutes going forward, simply because when you're playing with Embiid, shooting is so important because the defenses are going to collapse on him, and so spot-up shooting. So that's more Gordon and McCain to me than Doughton. But just keep an eye on it. The rotations, they also might be different in the games that Embiid plays versus the games that Embiid does not play. They're on a back-to-back tomorrow. I'm highly questionable whether we'll see Paul George or Joel Embiid in that one. So might see, the fuller version of the minutes tonight. Okay.
I wonder what that line's going to open at. That might be something to hit tonight when it drops.
Yeah. Toronto and Milwaukee. On the Toronto side of things, Scotty Barnes, Bruce Brown, Kelly Olynyk, Jacoby Walter, all listed out here. Garrett Temple doubtful, and then Emmanuel Quickley questionable with the left elbow sprain. It feels like we just got Emmanuel Quickley off of the injury report, and he's back on it quickly. So what's your read on Emmanuel tonight?
Yeah, I don't have anything really. I try to find stuff, but again, this isn't the same listing where he hurt his hip, the pelvic injury. Yeah, he looked mostly fine. Obviously, his shot wasn't going here, and they were going to play him close to 30, if not for blowout. So, yeah, I don't have a great read there. I think he'll be. I don't know. We'll find out. But obviously, if he doesn't play, we know they go to Davion Mitchell. I've been playing generally pretty well for them. That would add a lot of ball handling to RJ Barrett as well, and then. Yeah, everything else is pretty much aligned. Grady Dick's offense will come up, yada, yada, yada. So we'll see. There's really no information on this yet. Again, just new injury there.
On the Milwaukee side, no Damian Lillard tonight. He's in concussion protocol. Chris Middleton's still out with the bilateral ankle surgery. They've got probable tags on Andre Jackson Jr. with a left hip pointer, Gary Trent Jr. with lower back spasms, and Giannis Antetokounmpo with right patella tendinopathy. What's your read on the probable tags? Anything to be concerned about? And how do the Bucks look in the absence of Damian Lillard?
Should be good. They do play tomorrow, for what it's worth. Dame concussion protocol, probably missing both games, which the big question of the day, honestly, and perhaps the toughest question of the day is who starts for this team. There are a lot of options. The minutes team in our Slack, we have every option covered here. Let's go through them here. After thinking about it, I think if Gary Trent's good to go, which I don't know if he is, I think he's the favorite to start. We've seen him start at point guard before in previous teams, and then they have Giannis anyways to handle. So he would be my number one option. My number two, A and B, would be AJ Green, who, again, you're just basically playing point Giannis here. He's playing well. His minutes have been pretty strong. So I would rank him second. And then I'm a little bit different. I think Ryan Rollins is kind of making an impact. Doc Rivers, 2 straight pressers now, has really talked him up, talked up his defense, had 3 blocks in this game. And he was like one of the big bright spots beside Giannis, just kind of reading between how Doc was talking about it. So kind of insane that the Milwaukee Bucks, the championship contending Milwaukee Bucks, could be starting Ryan Rollins, but it's possible. So there's also some talk, a lot of guys think Pat Connaughton could start. That's definitely on the table.
Yeah.
I think, and then the last one would be DeLon. I think DeLon's dead with regards to minutes. He's just not playing. Multiple times, Doc has talked about him, not being right. He'll be with us later in the year. So I don't think DeLon's close. So I think that's mostly how it goes. So Trent coming back could take a little bit away from AJ Green, could take away a little bit on Taurean Prince's minute ceiling. We saw him play so many minutes. And then should mention Andre Jackson, hip pointer. This is legit. I think that may be part of the reason why his minutes didn't go up because he looked like he was trending for a ton. But the hip pointer from a couple games ago, could be affecting his minutes. So a little bit tough, but having Trent back, I think the minute ceiling is probably gone for Ajax now.
Yeah, I'm thinking that it's going to be a shooter, someone qualified as a shooter that would be starting in the starting lineup. I think Without Dame to stagger there, you need ball handling when Giannis is off the floor. So I just don't think it makes any sense to start Rollins. I think whether it's Trent, Green, or Connaughton, I think those are the top three options. I agree with your order on Trent and then Green. That one could be flipped because Green's been shooting the ball really, really well. So maybe, he gets the first run. Trent's coming back from an injury. Maybe they want to manage, the back spasms issue. But I think it's probably one of those three guys. And yeah, we'll see. It could be really hefty minutes here. But as you mentioned, front end of a back-to-back. They are the favorites for their group, though, this Milwaukee Bucks team. It's a weakened group, but they are the favorites here. And getting Toronto at home is a good opportunity to get a win, which they really could just use a win. It would be great to get a win.
Yep. Yeah, they are. I mean, this is Giannis mega smash spot. Raptors game with the most second most rim points. They play really fast, giving up the most points in the NBA per game. Giannis could have some absurd stats today.
All right, Phoenix and Utah. On the Phoenix side of things, Yusuf Nurkic is questionable here with left ankle soreness. They're without Kevin Durant for that left calf strain. Also without Colin Gillespie, Jalen Bridges, Ty Washington. What's your read on Nurkic and the left ankle soreness with the Q tag here?
Yeah, we saw him get tagged with it last game. He tried to battle through it, according to Mike Budenholzer, and couldn't do it. So we saw him not play the second half, got ruled out. So definitely a chance he misses. This isn't serious. Again, he was cut down because from an older injury. So they might sit him out again. They do play tomorrow. Yeah, they play tomorrow. Pretty sure. Yeah, they play tomorrow. They're in Sacramento tomorrow. So yeah, don't have a great read. I think that he might try to suit up and see how it goes, but they might sit him out. It is a back-to-back, so maybe get him right. Or just sit him tomorrow, whatever. So obviously if he didn't play, that would be Mason Plumlee, who played pretty well in this game. Looks to be starting. And then Oso Iguodala's minutes also came in there to cover that. And then the next question is, now that we have the injury on the other side, how small does this game go? It could go pretty small. So we could see a lot of like Royce O'Neal at the center spot, a little bit tougher to do without Durant. But this team, I think they're pretty comfortable going small. We saw Ryan Dunn, surprisingly, almost shockingly start for Kevin Durant. I was almost certain it was going to be Royce O'Neal. So that's kind of where we're at. We'll see on Nurk. But yeah, it's going to almost certainly be game time.
Yep. On to the Utah side of things, Keontae George listed probable here with a left hindfoot sprain. Colin Sexton listed available with that left fourth finger avulsion fracture. And then they listed Walker Kessler out with right hip soreness, in addition to Taylor Hendricks, Micah Potter, Jason Preston, and Oscar Tshiebwe all listed out. So without Walker Kessler here, who starts for Utah tonight?
Yeah, this was a question we were debating before we found out about Walker, about who gets squeezed, because it was a bit of a flip the last two games. 2 games ago, it was Drew Eubanks in and Kyle Filipowski out of the rotation. And then Filipowski comes back for the game on the screen and closes over Walker Kessler and played great. 6 assists. He's a good playmaking big. Was that because of no Keontae George to add a little more playmaking in the front court? I don't know. Was it because Walker Kessler was struggling with Wemby? I don't know. But point being, Filipowski, after him and Isaiah Collier didn't play 2 games ago. I should mention too, Collier coming. I'll get to him in a second. But I think there was a quote on that game where Filipowski didn't play, that he has like the long view and he's going to, not give these guys minutes. And, a lot of people talk about him just like getting minutes for experience. He doesn't feel that way. So he's going to play now. It's just a matter of like who starts. It should be John Collins, as Chris noted in our minutes. Without Walker Kessler last year, Collins was at 33 minutes. I think it's a bit of a horse of a different color. They've got more front court depth now. So I think we landed at 29 minutes for Collins as the expected starter. And then Keontae George coming back. I think it's very obvious to me that Isaiah Collier has leapfrogged Patty Mills there. So that'll cover the 48, probably getting like 0 overlap of the Sexton and Clarkson stuff. And then, I think I wouldn't be surprised if Filipowski plays the backup 5 just to squeeze in some wings, maybe Juzang or, more Juzang, bringing in Bryce Sensabaugh and then not play Eubanks. I don't know, but we have Eubanks pretty firmly in there. Curious if you're, and then should mention, lastly, Cody Williams' minutes got cut. They're a little more secure now with, having to play Collins is more of a straight 5.
Yeah, I think they generally consider Filipowski more of a 4 than a 5. Mm-hmm. So I think Eubanks is probably in, but obviously it's vulnerable. Agree with you on Sexton Clarkson, the overlap we saw last game being due to not having Keontae George, and I think that goes away this game. And I agree with you that Isaiah Collier probably just takes over whatever's left over from Keontae George. Would note that for Keontae George, though, who's been awful this season so far, this is more of a legitimate threat to the playing time floor for Keontae George. Now, I'm not expecting Keontae George's minutes all of a sudden to get down to like 26, 27, 28. But there might be games where if Isaiah Collier has it going, you see that. I don't think you were going to get that with Patty Mills. Like, I just don't think they were going to play Patty Mills 22, Keontae George 26 and split it up that way. With Collier, their first round pick, they might do some of that. So I think Keontae George's floor is lowering a little bit with this transition as well.
Yeah, Collier was I think he was the number 1 high school recruit coming out.
2 years,
So he's pretty good. He looked great. Got to the lane at will against Spurs.
Yeah, he's very good at breaking guys down off the dribble. It's the shot that needs the work, but guys can develop. Dallas and Golden State, the return of Klay Thompson to Golden State tonight. So this will be a fun one and a sentimental one. Dallas is without Dante Exum. They have a doubtful tag on PJ Washington. They have a questionable tag on Derek Lively, and they have a probable tag on Luka Doncic. So let's start with Lively. What are your expectations for if he'll be able to return tonight?
Pretty good chance. Went through a practice and said he felt good, according to McMahon of ESPN. So expecting him back, obviously off the bench. Minutes ceiling concerns coming off a pretty legit injury that he hurt in warmups last week or a week and a half ago, whatever it was. I'm expecting him back. And then the other notes where Luka was not limited. We took an under on Luka. Like, he hurt him, and he was legit hurt a couple of games ago. But of course, he goes out there and plays 41 minutes there, so he'll be good to go. And then, as you mentioned, Klay Thompson, it's gonna be pretty cool seeing him back with the Warriors. There'll be a lot of fanfare. Klay's got it on his mind. He said like Tuesday, like 4 times before anyone in the media asked him about this game. So it's clearly on his mind. I'm sure he wants to go out there and have a big game there. But my favorite thing of the presser, perhaps of all my presser stuff I did today, Jason Kidd was asked, why didn't Quentin Grimes and Maxi Kleber play? Kidd says it was a coach's decision. And then the reporter says, what was the reason behind that decision? Kidd says, coaches. I was like, that was so good. I was dying. But so we'll see. Quentin Grimes, my God, dude, I can't believe how down bad he is. I think he's probably still dead. And then the last piece here, man, going to be annoying. Jason Kidd said after the game that he's going to kind of mix it up and play guys here and there. And he doesn't want to split minutes. So, like, if you're in the rotation, as long as you're not playing, like, horribly, he's going to run it out. He doesn't want to have, like, an 11, 12-man rotation. We'll talk about the guy who does like that in a second. But, pretty annoying. Obviously, too big of a slate now, but maybe there's some edge there if you can guess. I think it's still going to be the same. Obviously, Derek Lively coming back changes Dwight Powell, all that stuff. But Spencer Dinwiddie's pretty secure. I think Hardy's mostly secure. And then Prosper probably going away with Lively back.
Yeah, I would think Prosper is just at risk of Maxi, right? Like that's the guy coming for Prosper. So, and Kleber, remember last game was a doubtful, questionable, available. So I really think, I don't know if they were messing around with the injury reporting, but I think he just wasn't fully healthy, and that's why he's not playing, even though he was listed as available. Sometimes you see that. He's not listed at all in the injury report today, so I'm a little bit more optimistic. But the note you have there in terms of us having to hedge and split some of these minutes, but it's one guy that's going to take him, is always important for people who are using our projections to try to source bets or different things like that. Is like when we have 2 guys for like the same exact minutes that are a backup role, you want to evaluate that bet off of both players getting the full minutes. Like, what would that look like in those situations? So it's usually just doubling the projection. Okay, Warriors side of things. Andrew Wiggins questionable, low back strain here. What are your notes on his availability tonight?
Yeah, previous injury here, played pretty well in this game, obviously. So we'll see. Probably going to be game time, but I think he's going to play. Obviously, a huge game here. They do not play they do not play tomorrow, excuse me. So I think he's in, but the headline of this game was after the game, Steve Kerr said they are going to stick with DeAnthony Melton, your guy, in the starting lineup, which I was expecting really all along for Melton to sit in there. He just looked so comfortable next to Steph. So he'll start, he'll play a ton. This rotation's a mess. And then the other thing too was Trace Jackson-Davis goes out there, plays 5 minutes, and then Chet Holmgren goes down, and they play small the rest of the game. No Looney. After the game, Steve Kerr said that Looney didn't play because Chet got hurt. I don't know if you believe him or not, because I thought they were going to play pretty small anyways. These guys are pretty much locked and loaded. Minutes are going to be really spread out. We saw, man, my favorite bet we had on this day was the pods under. Like there's just so many minutes here. They got to spread out. This is like such a hard team to do minutes on. But yeah, we've got all these guys projected in. We've got them pretty small with relative to Looney and Trace Jackson Davis. I think this game's just going to have to go that way with the way they're going to attack them on the other side there. So
the other thing to note is look at the minutes ceiling that we see from Steph Curry, from Andrew Wiggins here. It's hard to project this with Golden State, with how deep they're playing, how deep the rotations are, how infrequent we've seen this because of the they've been involved in. But it's good to know that against kind of elite opponents, you could see these types of ceilings if the games are competitive. I don't know if things will change for the Emirates Cup in terms of the way that they're thinking in terms of the minutes distribution, but it's good to know that there's a high-end outcome for guys like Wiggins and Curry and Dre. We've seen Dre extend into like the low 30s as well. I don't think it's there for anybody else because there's just too many bodies, but I think those three guys in the right situation, you can find minute ceiling. And then the Melton note, I can't help but think, I think if Melton is able to be his best self, this team is just very, very dangerous. And I cannot help but think of all of those offseason trade rumors about Larry Markkinen and Podziemski and Kuminga being kind of in if Golden State could have pulled that off or whatever, those two guys plus picks or whatever, and we were looking at Dre, Larry, Wiggins, Curry, Melton with a bench of Kyle Anderson, Heald, and some of these pieces, and it's all of a sudden that's a different level of a team that we're talking about. So Kuminga's been playing very well of late. That's been really encouraging for them. Melton's gotten healthier of late. That's always been the challenge the last few years for Melton. And this team looks very, very dangerous. So I'm excited to watch this game tonight.
Yeah, one more point. Draymond in his presser after this game, he was talking about this game and playing in the NBA Cup. He says we really laid an egg last year in these NBA Cup games. So he's pretty motivated to come out there and have a nice game tonight.
All right, Minnesota and Portland. On the Minnesota side, their injury report's clean. Just the G Leaguers are listed out. Any notes on Minnesota tonight?
Yeah, really tough loss. I'm an idiot. I bet against Miami in this game, and I paid the price. Learned my lesson. Learned my lesson on November 10th, and to stop betting against Miami. I'm just not allowed to do it. I forgot for a month. So I got the wrong team up there. Okay, so the only real note here that was interesting was we saw Mike Conley close, and he did not play well. He was not playing well in this game. After the game, Chris Finch said, and you should have closed with Nah. I was wondering, where's Nah? Yeah. And he's like, yeah, I should have closed with Nah. But they said, they've won a lot of games with Mike Conley overall. So that's really been the big difference this year besides the trade stuff. Mike Conley's minutes, we used to just know every night. Mike Conley's playing 28 minutes. That's it. We're going to get that every time within reason. Now it's he's got guys to cut him down. So it's mostly Nah's been freaking great, man. He is one of the most disruptive on-ball defenders in the NBA. My running joke of him being the true sixth man on this team continues. He's been great. Nasri was pretty good too. But yeah, they're pretty good health-wise, running pretty tight here. Should be. I imagine they run it tight again for NBA Cup. So pretty good opportunity to bounce back.
Yeah, the one thing for me is Anthony Edwards has shot the ball so well from three this season that you got to give him a pass on these types of box scores, right? The 4 for 14, the 8 for 24 overall. I want to see the right balance, his evolution as getting to the Luka level offensively is knowing that, hey, when the shot's not there, I got to find a way to get to the rim a little bit more, and I got to put pressure on the defense that way. And Ant will learn it for sure, but it's been this game was a little bit annoying on that front, where it's hey, your team needs you to try to get to the rim here and try to get to the free throw line. His free throws are way down this year, which is not surprising because he's just not trying to get to the rim as much. Portland side, Matisse Thybulle out here with right knee injury maintenance. We saw them try to integrate Shaedon Sharpe into the starting lineup last game out. It went very, very poorly. It went very poorly from a result standpoint, but just from watching as well, there was no flow to the offense whatsoever. I think one of the things that I think they're going to run into is that if they stick with this starting lineup, nobody moves the ball.
Yep.
There's not a single ball mover on the starting lineup. Denny at least will move the ball. Will like move the ball to side to side. The ball just stopped the whole time with Shaden out there. I don't know if they revert course after one game on this approach, but that was the thing that stood out for me, was just like the ball is going into black holes everywhere. Like Jeremy Grant is a black hole. DeAndre Ayton is a black hole. Shaden Sharp is a black hole in terms of the ball just stopping. And that's a concern for Portland offensively going forward. But what are your notes on the Blazers?
Yeah, the Billups presser, man, really, really laid into his guys. He said that if you get the exact quote here, anybody that sleeps well after the loss, they're a loser. He's been embarrassing maybe 10 times in his presser. He said his team was, quote, soft as hell. He said he's like got to look in the mirror and just think about how poorly his team came out. And they were like, oh, yeah, we prepped them. He talked about all the tendencies the Memphis Grizzlies do, all that yada, yada, yada. But I mean, that was just beatdown of beatdowns on the year. But yeah, I think they're going to run it back. As you noted, the headline here, not only did Denny Avdia get benched, he got really, really cut down. Like, I think he played 6 first half minutes. So like, look at Bub Carrington, right? They basically traded Bub Carrington for Denny, and Bub's been great. So yeah, I thought the trade was okay. That looks horrible right now. So yeah, that Time Lord continues to play with Donovan Clingan, shooting 3 still. And then I'm pretty comfortable with Toumani Camara keeping his job. I think he's just really important to their defense. They were playing great defense up until this one. They're actually first in rim defense on the season. But and the next question is, how much does Delano Banton play? How much does Ryan Rupert play? All these guys. It's really Banton. We've seen Banton, not play first 3 quarters and then play the fourth. I call him Delano Rivera. But they gotta play Denny more, right? Like they can't play Denny 12 minutes a game when you gave up like legit draft stuff to get him.
I think so. He's signed to a nice long-term contract as well. So like I think Denny's a long-term answer for them. At least the front office viewed him that way. I think that they're going to find out that their like core group of guys, they just don't move the ball quickly. They don't make decisions quickly, and they're not like great processors. And not that Denny is a great processor of the game. He's better than all those guys at it in terms of just like making decisions quickly. And so much of offense these days, if you look at like offensive efficiency, it's about how quick can you move? How quick can you get to a good shot? Because defenses are really good if you allow them to just kind of reset. And if you just stop the ball, defenses can anchor down and load up on you and force a bunch of turnovers. And that's what happened in this game. And so Shaden, Scoot, Ant, Jeremy Grant, Ayton, they're all ball stoppers. And it's just hard to have a good offense when you're not moving it, even if these guys are talented individual isolation scorers. So I do think there will be a renaissance of Denny's minutes at some point. I don't think it's at risk of Kamara. I agree with you on that his defense is valuable, and he's actually, he doesn't stop the ball very much. He kind of keeps it moving. He doesn't get to touch the ball very much, but he generally just kind of keeps it moving. So I think the issue is ultimately like one of these guys, most likely Shaden Sharp, needs to come off the bench, and you need to separate kind of the scorer mentality with a bench unit that needs that, as opposed to a starting unit that against top tier, starting defenses needs to be able to move the ball. Okay. That will do it for this edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. As always, if you're interested in checking out any of our premium content, you can go to establishedrun.com/subscribe-NBA for more details on our premium product offerings on the DFS side or on the prop side. We're very proud of the work that we put in on all of our premium products and would love to have you join us for the rest of the season. So you can check out more information on establishedrun.com/subscribe-NBA. If you're just along for the free ride, that's cool too. The best way to support us is to subscribe to this YouTube channel. We cleared our 5,000 goal last year. We'd like to keep growing this YouTube channel. And by helping us grow things and helping us get more eyeballs out there, I see more people watching this year than last year. That's all really encouraging stuff. That encourages us to keep doing this free content. So subscribe to this channel, get notifications by hitting that bell whenever we go live or post new content, including our podcast feed. And of course, if you're interested in circulating and feeding that algorithm, The best way to do that is smash that like button, feed that algorithm. That helps feed our families and allows us to feed you the NBA injury information and analysis you need each and every day to set your season-long lineups, your DFS lineups, and make your spread bets and your prop bets. So smash that like button, feed that algorithm. Num, 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 num. We'll see you next time.